Hey guys, how you doing? It's Kevin from Kevin's Disobedience. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Give me that thumbs up. But today, it's time to review the NeoTech 872. And right off the jump, if you're on the fence about this saw and you're a homeowner or you need a saw to gather firewood, let me give you a push. Buy this saw now. It's a real 72cc chainsaw for the power head, and it only cost $300. Let me tell you why you should get this saw and the problems it has right now. So in some sense, what more needs to be said? This is a real 72cc chainsaw for $300. The steel cross of that will cost you 3 times as much. And the question you have to ask as a homeowner, is it 3 times better? I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm coming at this from a landowner, farmer's perspective. I view chainsaws, power saws as just another tool in the tool shed to get the job done. I'm not a tinkerer. I don't know much about the guts, but I'm told by people that seem to be in the know that most of the parts inside this thing are OEM parts, kind of the parts you're going to find in a steel chainsaw. Now, that said, this saw does have its problems. And if you're a professional, there are some reasons you might not want this saw. Let's go over the problems right now, and then we'll deal with who these saws are targeting. Problem number 1, and this is no small thing, the caps that these things come with, I've changed these out since, they're terrible. They're so finicky, they're so hard to get snapped down in there, and they leak oil. When I first got this thing leaked oil all over the place. I even thought I had the caps in securely, and they flew right off. So you're losing bar oil the entire time you're cutting. I did contact the rep from NeoTech, and they sent me some new caps, but they made me pay 20 bucks for them, which I didn't appreciate. Their caps are dysfunctional. You think they would replace them. And that brings me to another issue about servicing this saw, which I want to get to right now. So that's something else that you want to consider. While these saws are shipped from within the United States, there's no dealer that you're going to be able to take these to get your saw serviced if it has an issue. And that's probably why you're never going to see serious tree service guys running these saws, because they need to be able to take them in for servicing. And if you're someone like myself that's not mechanically inclined, you're going to have to fix whatever problems you have yourself. And if it's just a cap, that's no big deal. But if something goes wrong inside these small engines, well, that's a little bit bigger of a deal. Let's move on to problem number 2. So problem number 2 is the chain tightener. I don't know exactly why, but this chain is difficult to get tightened up. Once you get it tight, it will stay tight more or less, but there's something not quite right with the chain tightener. And Indiana Doug did do a video showing how you can get a little bit more room to get the chain tight by filing down that plastic piece that's in there, but it comes not quite right from the factory, and that's frustrating because that's something you have to do at least every time you swap out chains. Problem number 3 is the tuning. When you get this saw, it's not tuned as it should be for efficient cutting. And again, for someone like me that's not that familiar with how to tune power saws properly, you're going to have to ask around. It will cut right out of the box, but it's not going to cut as efficiently as it can if you just tweak the high and the low a little. And that information is online, so that's not a big deal, but it is a thing that you should be aware of. Problem number 4, and the last problem that I really have with this saw, is that the on-off switch and the choke and the trigger are chintzy as hell. They haven't broke yet, but I have no doubt that at some point this is going to break. it just is the chintziest plastic I've ever felt on a chainsaw. It's not broke yet, but chances are I'm going to be replacing this trigger and this on-off switch directly. That said, in pretty much every other way, this looks like a steel chainsaw. It does have a compression button like most Huskies, still doesn't have that, and that's nice so that you're not busting your arm pulling that. It's got plenty of compression. It even has a skid plate on the bottom, which is nice. I did change the half wrap to a full wrap. You don't have to do that. In fact, oftentimes it's nice to have a half wrap. That way, when you're cutting off the stump, you can get a little bit lower, but it does give you the option for a few more positions. And you'll be happy to know that you can swap this out with the steel options, the OEM options, the bolts line right up. It's got the handbrake. Handbrake is as you would expect. Everything else is just like a real chainsaw, save the things I mentioned. In terms of the guts, you're going to have to get the specs elsewhere. I'm just interested in this as a tool that will do what I need it to do, which is to process wood, and does that just fine. So the other thing that I should mention about this saw is that I've used it for basically 2 firewood seasons now. I've run nothing but non-ethanol gas in it, and I have no issue with getting it started. Put it on choke, 1 or 2 pulls, pop it on start, pull it 1 or 2 times, it starts right away, and then every time after that 1 pull. And I have a Husky, and I have nothing but issues getting it started. I don't know why, I'm just telling you my experience. This saw starts just fine and runs just fine once you tweak it a little bit. I still have to fine tune it a bit, but I'll cut in some footage, some more footage, and let you guys hear it run. But this is a real power saw, and ironically or not, the bar and the 2 chains cost as much as the power head. That's ridiculous. But you probably do want a lightweight bar on this, because throwing this saw around for a day, it's quite heavy. And if you're not used to running a chainsaw every day, this is going to tax you a bit. So probably not a saw you want for small limbing work. I like my battery saw for that, but it is a good saw for bucking up firewood and for felling. And you want to have one of these in your kit, even if you're a professional homeowner or a homesteader or a farmer. You want something like this in your kit. And if you don't use it all the time, you probably don't want to pay $1,200 for it. So buy this guy for $300, throw it in your garage, and it'll be there ready to go when you need it. I don't know how they do it, but it's a $300 real power saw. Have I said that already? It's a real power saw. NeoTech, I don't know how you did it, but you did it. I'm going to give you an A- on this. You knocked it out of the park. Change a few things, and you got a real winner here. Now, roll that beautiful bean footage.